All right, welcome to this episode of Delayed Offside. Like most episodes of Delayed Offside, you never know who's actually going to be hosting or a part of it. So this is always one of those things. We'll get to inform you that Sanjay cannot make today's episode because he is basking in the existential dread of being a Flames fan right now. And in fact, him on the group chat is by far the most depressing conversation I have had. Like, if I was the Calgary Flames and he was a fan of mine, he would be the most draining fan ever because it doesn't matter. Like he's like, well, Kachuk turned too quickly, and now they're gonna lose because he's like. Can you imagine watching a game with that guy? Like literally, he's live tweeting and no one else is saying anything, and he's just the saddest fan ever. Like I'm like, man, you're down 2-1 in a series. You're not eliminated. You're not like at the end here, but he is talking about it like he's like walking a plank.
This
like
happens every year with the Flames. Every year we had 94, 95,
yeah.
04, 05. Oh, yeah.
He listed all the years of disappointment in his life.
Oh, my God.
Like
do you have it
back to back? Guys, I'm going to go
it.
look for it right now,
Yeah,
and I'm going to read this tweet to the people because like I'm worried about him a little bit here because I'm like, man, like, guy, you know, you're down 2-1 and it's not that big of a deal, you'd think. And then it's just like, no, that's not true. There's so much I gotta go back.
You guys don't know. I'm seeing some stuff.
Yeah. It's like that World War I vet warning all the World War II vets that war isn't going to be a good time. Like you're like, hey man, like
this is what's going to happen, and this is not going to be fun.
Oh man, where is it? Oh, he's going off about officiating. There's that. Yeah, you guys are right with it. Hard to have any faith when this has been the Flames since 1990. Great regular season and out in the first round. As a Flames fan, I feel like I've seen this exact movie so many years. 90, 94, 95, 06, 19. Oh man, I don't even want to read his this is the end of the franchise one because I'm like, okay, he's spiraling and it's not good. It's not good to take a man who's in a bad spot and make it worse. And I'm not trying to, but I'm just like, dude, you're down one game in a series against a team your team can beat.
Oh man, he was messaging like it was 3-1.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Let's start with there then. Let's start with that series there. So technically, I think most of us picked the Flames to win it in like
5. No, I think
5.
I think I had 5. Flames in 5, or did I have
sweep? I think I said sweep because Sanjay was like, they won't sweep. You don't say that. Like they're not going to sweep, right? And he's right. They definitely aren't. And now for the Flames to win it, they have to win it in 6 games here. But there's been some real interesting occurrences that have happened here. So far, this has been a very tight checking game. The surprise to me is that this has been a low scoring game. And I don't mean that from a Dallas perspective, but kind of I do. Like I didn't expect Jake Ottinger to be as good as he's been.
Oh, he's been unreal.
Yeah, he has been. He's played so well. But did any of us expect the offense to dry up in Calgary this quickly?
No, not at all. And, you know, I think it really adds to the narrative when, you know, the Flames come down. Johnny Gaudreau, like 10 seconds in, gets past that blue line, roofs it on Ottinger, and it's called back because it's offside. It's just bad.
Right off the bat. If you follow Sid on Twitter, now he's let me just find this up here because I want to load this. I bookmarked it because man, I was like, wow, this is a stat.
And
this is NHL. This is
not like Sid, like not Tim and Sid. This is
this is NHL Sid. He writes for Oilers Nation. We go since 2017. Out of 350 players that have played at least 205 versus 5 minutes in the playoff, Johnny Gaudreau ranks. What's your guess? Out of 350 players since 2017. 205 on 5 minutes. Where does he rank out of those 350 players in points?
Okay. Let's say out of the 350, I'm going to say 330.
346. Ooh. The only 4 players he's ahead of are defensemen. He is dead last in forwards. That is a shocking tweet. And that's from NHL Sid, NHL_Sid. Like I'm blown away by it because honestly, like all year, all you heard was that Calgary was essentially the playoff prototype team. They were Canada's best chance for a cup. They're the best team in Canada. They're built big. They're built heavy. They play many different styles. They can beat you on the rush. They can pound you into the ground. but we're not seeing that anymore in this series, are we, Adam?
No, what we're seeing a lot of is like old school Matthew Tkachuk. It seems like he's almost regressed and getting back to kind of trying to be a shit disturber and taking dumb penalties, which are leading to better chances for Dallas. I don't know about you, but I'd take the trade off Klingberg for, Tkachuk.
Yeah, but it was Anderson, wasn't it? I think it was Klingberg for Anderson in that fight.
No,
The two that got hucked off.
that was
I
the
mean,
one
that was the
before.
first game.
That
Yeah,
was the
yeah, yeah.
first game. Second game was second or third game was Klingberg and Kachuk. They've tussled a couple times in this series
Yeah.
actually. So
I think too, one of the things that I didn't realize was like we talked about how amazing a season Gaudreau's had, and he has had an amazing season, but also Lindholm and Kachuk. But I don't think we realized how top heavy that line was versus the rest of the team. Like beyond that first line, the team's secondary scoring depth hasn't really been there all year, but it was being overshadowed because that first line was producing at an amazing like career high pace. And now it's really dried up that the game's gotten tighter and less
penalties are
room
being
out there.
called.
Penalties are being called and so forth. Now that being said, right? Like it hasn't been good for Calgary, but they're only down 2-1. So why should Flames fans, specifically Sanjay, be optimistic moving forward here, Adam?
Oh, you've got a number one goalie that's elite in this league. Markstrom's a mainstay in that net. You've got a defense that's solid under a structure that's brought in by Sutter, who's won multiple cups. And you do have massive firepower that's going to ignite at some point during these playoffs. Like Dallas is doing a pretty good job of fighting and staying in. It's only a matter of time before, it comes back. You look at different series, a lot of teams were down 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. A lot of those are evened out. It's been a tight playoff.
It really has been. That being said, do you still expect Calgary to win the series?
That's tough.
Or has Dallas changed their mind?
Dallas is looking good. They're showing that they can, they have just as much game in these playoffs as the Flames. I'm going to say that, my tune has definitely changed. And if the Flames are winning this, it's in 7.
I still think that Calgary's going to win this series.
Yeah, me too.
They got to rifle off 3 in a row here if they want to wrap it up in 5, or sorry, in 6, which like now is probably harder to do, but it's not impossible. So, I mean, honestly, once that line breaks through, they might break through for a bit here. And that might be the interesting thing. So I still think that they are the favorites here, but I just think we're still waiting to see something, but I'm sure we will here. Like I know what everyone says, but I still think this team is pretty good. So at the end of the day, they should find a way to win. And they do have lots of experience on that back end. Not at the back end specifically, but like throughout the lineup. I mean, the other series that's been a little bit of a surprise that's occurring tonight is Florida versus Washington. Now, this is a series where everyone kind of expected Florida, which was the top team in the East, to just crush through Washington, which was the wild card team, and move their way through this. Right now, that game is tied 2-2 in the third at the end of the third. So they're heading into overtime here. And this could be a very big deal for the Florida Panthers. If they lose tonight, they are down 3-1 in the series. And if they win, they tie it up 2-2. So far, it's a 2-goal game on both sides, and the Capitals don't have all the players that they really should for this series. So it's been a little bit of a swish here. But Adam, why are you surprised? Are you surprised? I guess I should say, are you surprised about how this series has gone so far?
I am surprised that the Capitals have a 2-1 series lead. I shouldn't be because, there's a number of guys on that team that have done it already. So they know how to win at this point in time in the postseason. But what surprises me is the Panthers were a team that pushed Tampa to 7 games last year. They looked hungry, but I think they're a lot like, well, it's almost like they're a lot like Calgary in a sense that they can't find that scoring when they need it. And, they're a team that would win a lot of games that were high scoring. So does that mean they have a leaky back end that's not really like conducive to what they showed in the regular season? That's kind of my question. I look at Florida and I'm like, okay, they can score. Is their defense as good as it is on paper?
Well, they have had guys like Ekblad hurt,
Yeah.
right?
And we,
Um,
because he's with Uyghur,
yeah, he's
right?
back with Uyghur,
And
I believe. But it's also a series like I haven't really been able to sit down and watch. I don't think game one was
yeah,
broadcast, at least anywhere I could find it. And then game three was on the one station. And
right.
it's kind of a little bit tougher to see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening here with this team. One of the things I heard commentators talking about was um, like, have you adjusted? Like, playoffs is a different game, and have you adjusted?
Yeah.
And they're still trying to win games the way that they normally do, and it's not working. But I think it's like you do something and you're so successful at it. Why? How do you change? How do
Yeah.
you change for it? And it is going to be a problem for them. Right now, though, like I said, they're heading into overtime. You have a couple big players in there that could still step up and change this thing around. But at the end of the day, like, what do you think is going to happen here with these two teams, Adam?
Well, it depends on how tonight goes. Washington's up 2-1. If Washington goes up 3-1 and wins this game tonight, uh, I I think Washington takes that series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nail in the coffin for
I
sure.
do.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like you said, they got the playoff experience. They have the veterans. They know guys know how to step up. Um, and even though you look at a team like Florida and you think they got experience throughout the lineup with playoffs and stuff, it's not the same. I don't think like the way they're built versus Washington. Like Washington surprisingly built a little bit for the playoffs. They're kind of like Montreal in the sense that they're not great for regular season,
Yeah.
but they're okay for other things, right? Like as long as they get to the playoffs, they'll make a show.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing right now. They are making a show of it, and everyone counted them out. But this might be the bracket buster. And it seems to be there's always that one team in the East that says, "Screw it, we're going to ruin it for everyone." And this year it might be the Washington Capitals. But on the other series, speaking full of veterans and a heavy veteran versus the new guys on the block kind of style, is the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the New York Rangers. Now, going into this, New York boasted the premier goalie in the league, Igor Shesterkin, who had a record-saving year, went into playoffs with a ton of firepower, things going well. And right off the bat, actually, game one, they came out with a ton of heat against Pittsburgh. And it was kind of an interesting series off the bat because, like, Pittsburgh was able to claw their way back in that game. And then game two was all New York, and it really
Yep.
felt like that was a turning point. But then game three was all Pittsburgh, and today game four was all Pittsburgh, and it feels like in that ebb and flow battle, once New York fired up, the Penguins adjusted and fired back, and it has not gone well for the Rangers since. Elliot Friedman just tweeting out that Shesterkin will start for game five. You dance with the one that brought you, and but they're like, people are having like an amazing year, but people forget like this team knows their window is closing, and this team has great playoff performers in Malkin, in Crosby, and right now Crosby's doing better than Gensel, Rust. Like they have guys producing here at a really good level, and I think this is who I picked to win was Pittsburgh, but I think a lot of people are kind of surprised that the Rangers haven't been better competition. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know why that surprise is there. You've got the firepower and the playoff experience in, Sid, Letang, Malkin, Gensel, and they're gonna fight to the bitter end. And it to me, it's not much of a surprise. I think I picked Pittsburgh as well to win this series because I was like, looking at New York, sure, you've got a good power play. You've got Kreider, who scored over 50. What happens in the playoffs?
Yeah,
Where's
I'm
the
with
rest,
you on this point. Yeah.
Where's the rest of your scoring? This is Lafreniere's first appearance in the playoffs. How's he going to respond? Like, has Adam Fox been in the playoffs yet? Too? Like,
I don't know. Actually, it's a good question.
Trouba. How much experience does he have going through? Like,
Trouba has a bit. Trouba was on that team that went far with Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But they still only were a Western finalist team. They didn't win the Western Conference.
I don't know. I think it comes down to like you've got guys that have won 3 cups, know how to do it, want to do it one last time. And I think it comes down to that massive will, and you're seeing it with Crosby in his play right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I think that's a great point. Like I think that they're veteran heavy, but they're not veteran old heavy. Like they're guys who are still producing, still finding a way, being a part of it. But honestly, losing their goaltender, losing their starting goaltender, their second goaltender, that to me, I figured was going to be their millstone, the thing that was going to pull them down under the water. And it hasn't been. Domingue has been serviceable. I don't think he's been good. I don't think he's been great, but he's been serviceable. And right now he's not battling Shesterkin, but I'll tell you, like, Shesterkin's not bailing out his team either, right?
Yeah.
So
spicy pork and broccoli.
Yeah, spicy pork and broccoli. It's going to be an interesting series either way. But I mean, like after today, like the Rangers got one more push, but the Penguins could be done in 5, and that's a team that could use that rest. And honestly, they could make some serious noise here, moving ahead.
I think they're done. I honestly, I think this series is done on Wednesday.
You think so?
I do.
Really?
I do. I think it's done Wednesday, and I think Pittsburgh moves on.
Fair enough. You heard it here first, folks, or other places. I don't remember what I even said for how many games this one would go. But I did think Pittsburgh was going to win, and I only say that because all my brackets had Pittsburgh going to the next level. Just trying to exit.
We have a couple players in our pool too.
Yeah, I do. I have several.
3, I think 3 or 4.
4. I have Crosby, Malkin. Crosby, Malkin, Getzel, Rust, Carter. I have 5.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I went heavy on them. Well, not because I was who I wanted to, but that was the team. That was like the best players available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't like, what do I want to take? Like the guy who had the 4th line minutes in the Avalanche, or do I want to take the guy who is playing second line? Like I took Joe Pavelski too, not because I have faith in Dallas, but because I thought he was still going to get points no matter how short that series was.
Yeah.
The game that does feel like it is basically over, though, is Colorado-Nashville. Now, this has been an interesting series in the sense in the very first game, the Predators, already in a bad spot, having lost UC Saros, essentially go in and get their backup goalie in Big Save Dave, get absolutely dominated in that first period. He's pulled
5 goals in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Connor Ingram comes in and has since not relinquished the net. And right now, honestly, their second game, some of their other games, they were a lot better. They looked like they were making it close. Yes, Tim. Now you can hear my cat rubbing his face against the mic. But at the end of the day, they have not been able to outperform the best team in the West, which is the Colorado Avalanche. So I think we both feel it probably ends tonight. And if it doesn't, then in 2 days, it's going to end again anyways. This is borrowed time. Yeah, he loves that, Mike. It's borrowed time that they're really on. But I don't know, like, what do you think happens here? Because this series is basically done. And is it a good thing for Colorado to be done this series so quickly, or do you think it would be better for this to be a little bit longer?
Well, you know what? It would be nice for Colorado to face some adversity. But if you get out of this in a sweep, you have that time to rest some players that might be dinged up a bit, especially in the playoffs. You need that time, and perhaps practicing for a possible opponent in the second round in St. Louis and Minnesota, who we'll talk about later. But trying to structure maybe your game around what you could possibly see there.
Now, they do need the rest for sure, because Darcy Kemper right now is still having his eye healed. Luckily, his eye wasn't damaged, but the swelling around it is bad. And it is hard to believe that he is going to be able to continue to perform at a high level when he's having issues with his eyesight, right? But that is kind of a surprising one there, that even with their backup goalie and a guy that was the backup last year, but and who they had some hopes would help them carry along, but like they always ran out of goaltending, right? Yeah. That they're in kind of the same problem to some degree, but are still able to actually produce here, right? Sanjay just sent a message about Gaudreau and a concussion.
That's brutal.
What is, hey?
It said, what it said is, well, Gaudreau might have a concussion. Effing Dallas, so dirty. But he's also got a like, Calgary's pretty dirty too.
Well, the conversation came out about like how, like I was with a coworker for the Kings, who's a Kings fan, and he was like nursing that slew foot. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. SG.
Yeah, initials.
Nope.
No. Oh, okay.
Nope. I can't even think of who SG is on staff.
Oh, come on, for God's sakes, he's one of your closest friends on staff.
Oh, he's not a Kings fan. Well, he's his backup team, but it's not his main team.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I thought, yeah, you were close in the initials. That's why I was confused. I'm like, who the
Oh,
hell's?
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but anyways, but he's talking about these things like slew foot and everything else, and I'm like, man, I don't know. But I was already talking about it. Might as well talk about that series. So the Oilers and the Kings has been kind of a back and forth affair here, with each team taking a lead and then relinquishing it back. First, the Kings came out in the first game and off a Mike Smith gaff where he hucked the puck up the middle, which is essentially a play that would get you benched in Pee Wee. You never pass straight up the ice.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was a horrible move, and it was the game changing point. And the worst part about that play to me is that no matter what happens, that's going to be a highlight on this playoff series for like, even with the Kings. Say they beat the Kings, they move to the second round and win that, third round, whatever, go far. That is always going to be there because that was probably one of the worst plays of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But that cost them the game. Mind you, their play didn't help either. Game 2 and 3, they came out gangbusters, and then game 4, it was all LA. And the Oilers couldn't get started or move or anything, and LA hemmed them in. LA played very strong hockey, defensive style, really kept McDavid out, didn't allow them to break in, have plays off the rush, changed how they dumped pucks in, just everything, allowed very few shots, peppered the goalie, just a completely different team in that game. So that series is now 2-2. So where are you at right now with this series, Adam? What are your thoughts of what's going to happen and go on here?
Well, it's been a hell of a chess match. To be completely honest, I thought, I was like, after that first game, I was like, man, they're still struggling and making like it's that one flub up, that one mistake that, was costing them against Winnipeg. That was, that, and you kind of felt that sweeping kind of feeling. You're like, here we go again. And then all of a sudden, game 2 happened with the 6-2 win, and then game 3 with the 8-2. And you're like, okay, they busted through. They've really busted through. They've got that confidence. They've got that mentality from last year and the year before against Chicago off their back. That monkey's off their back. They can win in the playoffs. So you see that confidence. And then yesterday, those adjustments really kind of messed with their system. They couldn't enter the zone. They had a difficult time. The only time I can really think of where they put some pressure on was when Quick lost his glove. Kane got a good shot off. Yamamoto got a really good rebound on him, and Kane came in and a really nice blocker save again. But that really is all I can think of for what they created. They need to get into crazier places. They need to hit like they were in game 2 and 3.
The hitting was definitely not there in game 4. It just wasn't.
No.
They had some chances. Like everyone keeps bringing up the storyline, like, oh, this is 2012 Quick, and I'm like, I don't know. Like to me, like I don't like the storyline because it's not something that's good for my team. But 2, 2012 Quick actually had to make a ton of saves, and honestly, the Oilers didn't do any pressure until the third period. So, did Quick bail them out? Yeah, he did when they had to, but I don't think he had to be stellar to bail them out that game. I really don't. But
I don't know.
The guy played well. And I think that willingness to sacrifice, putting your bare hand up at the puck, shows you that they were desperate.
He wants to win.
A desperate team, and they knew it. They played like that was an elimination game, and I don't think the Oilers were ready for that. No. I think that they'd had 2 games where the Kings had been terrible and soft, and they thought, hey, we're going to keep rolling. Does it change your opinion of the series so far here, Ab?
No. I think it's a much more competitive series than I thought it was actually going to be. I do think that Edmonton's still going to pull out a win tomorrow night. They're at home, and I think they're going to be prepared because they've answered well after losses in this series.
All season since they had the new coach.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see how they come out in LA.
Yeah, I said 6, and I still think it's going to be 6.
Yeah.
I would have preferred if they had gone up 3-1 and then lost the game, but now it's just tight, and now you have to play like it's tight, and that's maybe better for them. I don't know. Speaking of other series that have been a little bit tight, the one that's been kind of surprising, or maybe it isn't surprising, I should say, has been St. Louis versus Minnesota. Now, this is a series where both teams were basically coin flips of each other in terms of placement and power within it. The series had been owned really by the St. Louis Blues. However, that was also before they had Marc-Andre Fleury in net. And this is really a big go for it year, as, like I said, next year there's a ton of cap penalties coming to that team, and they have not many options for what they can do with it. So it was really tough in that sense. Like they had to really get themselves ready for it and be prepared. And in the first game, it was all St. Louis. And then just like the Oilers King series, next two games, all Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then last game, all St. Louis. St. Louis made a switch though in net with Biddington over Huso, and it seemed to pay dividends for them. And they found their scoring touch again. So this series has been a little bit wild. What are your thoughts on the game so far? And do you feel it's changed anything? Yes. Hi, Tim.
It has. It hasn't been like one that I've watched actively, but it does. It seems like a roller coaster, honest to God, this series. But I know like Minnesota's getting their scoring in Kirill Kaprizov, who, showed he can score in the regular season and he's performing in the playoffs. You're seeing those. Did Perron get a hat trick?
Yeah, he did one of the games. Yeah,
he's still in form. Like O'Reilly's playing unreal as well. Play like last game. This is honest to God. You could take a coin and flip it for me with this series. That's how I feel. How close it is. Like it doesn't matter that you have Marc-Andre Fleury in net. On the other side, I find that these two teams are so closely matched that I don't know. I really have a hard time trying to pick a winner here.
Yeah. It is interesting though, because they have gotten a lot of scoring from different people.
Yeah.
Both teams really have here. But like you're right, like whoever walks out of here, I feel is going to be dangerous for everyone else in the division. Like if Minnesota goes out, that's not a team you're necessarily excited to play against. If the St. Louis goes through, not a team you're excited to play against. And one of the coworkers really is all up on St. Louis. He's like, they'll be good. This will be good. They'll kill everyone else in the playoffs. They're just built for it. Blah blah blah. And honestly, like depending how it goes, he might be right. But like personally, I'd cheer for Minnesota personally over the Blues because the Blues won it recently. I don't particularly love Binnington. I don't think many people do, and I just think that's as good of a reason to cheer. And I like Marc-Andre Fleury. There's someone I can cheer for. I like Mark. I like Max Talbot. Like there's someone I could cheer. Not Max. What's his name?
Talbot.
What's his name? Not Max Talbot.
Cam Talbot.
Cam, thank you.
Yeah.
Too many Talbots. Cam Talbot. I like him. So there's someone else I could cheer for. So there's just reasons like that. And Kaprizov, I think, is an exciting, fun player. So
I do too. And Baron, like looking at that division, honestly, if you're say hypothetically, the Oilers make it to the conference final. Personally, and call me crazy, I would want them to face out of those three teams, the Colorado Avalanche.
Verhaeghe won it for Florida. Series is tied 2-2.
Unreal. It's a series.
Yeah, it is now.
That's where I'm at with that. Like those two teams scare me.
Well, I see Minnesota's put together 2 back-to-back wins already, so I'm going to say they're going to win it in 6, just to be bullish on them. But I mean, honestly, they've won twice in a row, so they can do it, and I hope they do because that would make a hell of a series.
And it would help your pool.
Oh, it would definitely help my pool. Minnesota
wins. And Fiala, right?
Hartman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't get Fiala. But that's okay. Hartman's been good, producing points. Yeah. Yeah. Well, once again, he's not the only one. There's a couple of guys in the team you could start looking at. Or this third line's been terrible without what's his name there, Derek Ryan.
Yes.
Okay. 2 more series to talk about, and then we'll end this episode. We'll end with the big one for Ryan so that he can be happy. But we're going to go with Boston, Carolina. Now, this is a series where Carolina essentially dominated early on, dominated with a backup goaltender in Antti Ranta. And then I think Ranta got injured, I believe, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and then they brought in, I can't remember the goaltender's name. I got to double check that just to be sure. But they essentially still won the first 2 games, and it looked like Boston was done. Like this looked like a team that wasn't going to play. Oh, Ranta played last game. I sworn he was injured for a game though. I'm pretty sure about it. But this looked like Boston was. Peter Kocheknov. I don't know. I can't read Russian names. I think he's Russian. I don't even know. Sounds bad, but I really don't. But honestly, like this is a game where it looked like it was absolutely going to be all Carolina.
Yep.
They were looking dominant. They were playing well. They were scoring. They were winning. And then Boston has just turned us around at their home game. So they've really made a series out of this, and now it's 2-2, and they head into the series tied, and you got to be like wondering whether or not who's going to actually walk away, and you got to think it's whoever wins, whoever doesn't win at home is going to win the series.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I haven't paid too much attention to this series myself.
You and I both said that this was the series that we cared the least about.
Yeah, it is. But watching after last game, Marchand going with the ref, and Carolina leaving the ice and him yelling to D'Angelo, "You're a racist. You're a racist."
Is that what he was yelling at him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't know who he was yelling at.
D'Angelo. Yeah.
That's funny.
That is kind of funny. I don't know. The guy who loves to be a rat but sneaks his way into your heart. Right? Brad Marchand.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. He really does. He was the guy that everyone wanted on their team if they didn't have him. If he's not on your team that you want on your team, they wanted Brad Marchand. So that's a huge compliment in a lot of ways, I think, that you want absolutely. That guy on your team. And he's just like a complete jerk, but he gets under people's skin and he's a good hockey player. It's like he can't, that's the thing. He can back it up. He can back it up. The other change that occurred here was Boston switching from Ullmark to Swayman. And I felt like Swayman played more games, but they actually split the net equal. And I think they counted on experience, but it seems like Swayman's just been the better guy of the two when it comes to this playoff series. So going into Carolina, what do you think Boston should do there? Keep it the same? I think Swayman or switch back to Ullmark?
Well, I think you got to keep it the same. Stay with the hot hand. Show that you do have, that confidence in both goalies. But just say I think you got to keep it with Swayman because he's getting you the wins. You're playing well in front of him. Why not?
So this series is now tied 2-2. Where does it still change your prediction, or do you think Boston actually has a chance, or is this still going to be Carolina's by the end of the day?
Well, it'll be interesting. I think Boston has a chance. I mean, it's now a best of 3 series.
Right.
Dead tight. I think they have a chance.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, we're going to end with the last series, the one that Ryan Pilon wants us to talk about. Like, click, subscribe. Just say his name. I have to automatically remember to say those words. Like, click, and subscribe.
This is where I end the recording.
Yeah. But this is important to know. This series is the Leafs versus Tampa has been an interesting series from the get-go because whoever wins in such a dominant and convincing fashion that you're convinced the series is over. And then it flips and the other guys win the same way. And you're like, oh, it's not over. We got it's this. And then the next one happens. You're like, oh, it's over for them. And you're like, oh, it's not over. It's like this. And it's been very tough that way. Whoever wins just has a complete ass kicking of the other team. And it's not light, or it has been absolutely insane the amount of goals scored between these two teams if they win. What do you think's going on with this series, Adam? That it's been competitive, but only in the sense that whoever wins, or only in the sense that it's actually tight in the series, but the games themselves really have not been.
Yeah, it's bizarre because there have been stupid penalties taken. Toronto needed to take Simmons out of the lineup. He was taking not great penalties. When do you ever? But they were not good. And then you insert Spezza, who I think maybe should have been in the lineup from the beginning on your fourth line. It's weird because too, Campbell's a fragile goalie mentally.
Yeah, he can be.
So how watching that game yesterday, you're like, oh God, those first 3 goals right away were just backbreakers.
He looked bad on those goals. That glove one. I'm not saying that
he should have had that.
But that felt like that was a savable puck in his positioning, right? Yeah, that one was tough. And then it was just mercy essentially by the end, just to give the guy a bit of a break, right?
But no one could score. No one was scoring. You need your first and second line tandem to score. Tavares, where are you? Where are you, buddy? Not a great playoff performer.
No, he's actually he's been one of the guys that at least the online community has been very upset with, actually, his performance and his play. Now, it's John Tavares. He could potentially turn it back on, but he's getting older. And he's getting worn down a bit here. So maybe he just doesn't have quite the engine for the same type of game. Or potentially, you know, it's not like John Tavares ever, like he carried those teams, the Islanders teams, into the playoffs, like I think twice.
And they won around once.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was like a game breaker by any means. And I think that's what people are expecting from him. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. And you're also playing the team that's won the cup twice. And the thing I hate, like I've heard this argument so many times, well, that's a lot of hockey. That's a lot of hockey. No, it wasn't. You were in a bubble and then you got a ton of time off. You had one weird playoff series with the least amount of travel in a playoffs history series, right? Like you literally were just within your bubbled team area for your first couple rounds. Like I just don't feel like they have played as much hockey as everyone thinks they have.
56-game season.
Yeah, and even to have like Kucherov missed an entire season, so he should still be rested. You know, like there's just the argument. I think is just they pull regular old hockey story ones. Quick 2012. You know, John Tavares. Blah blah blah. They're tired because they've won lots of cups. Look what the Pens look at. Like it's just always the same stupid stories reshuffled and recycled. I really wish Ryan was here to talk about this series because he'd be like, "Frick, I don't know, guys."
Bunting came back and, you know, he had a little bit of an impact, but at the same time wasn't great either.
Yeah, he did come back and make some stuff. They are playing with a little bit of injury history here with some of their guys, and that was some of the concern. But I know like people were skewering Nylander online for his back check on that one point in the game. Like it felt like once the game was a little bit out of hand, the Leafs they're just like, no, next game's ours, you know, and then they pull it off, and then they just sit there and take it. And then the next game they'll start again fresh and ready to go. But if they're down, they're not trying to persevere or overcome. They're just saving it for the next one.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to help them. I really don't.
No, not at all. You can't have that mentality. Yeah. Right?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you gotta pour it on. You gotta show up game after game. Like, I don't know. You know, there was a point like from where I see it, I'm like, okay, Oilers are down 2. They don't phone it in. They were trying. Like, that's been the story for a good chunk of like the season this year, playing from behind. There wasn't any time after that first period that I was like, oh, it's over. You know?
You and I are different on that. 2 goals, the way they were playing in the first, I was like, they better show up in the second. But the end of the second, I was like, they haven't shown up in 40 minutes. They're not showing up in 20.
Yeah. But like, that's kind of where I was like, my head's at. And like, as a fan, so like thinking about that with like Toronto, they looked deflated after those first 3 goals.
They really did. But I also think, you know, like Toronto got a hard matchup for how good they were. Like, they really did. It's not like they got some magical, you know, easy team to walk through like Colorado did. They have a hard battle to get to where they're going, and they have to take off the Stanley Cup champions. But I also feel like Toronto thought that this would be easier than than it is, I should say. And I think they played, and when they were loose and when things are going their way, it's fine. But when it doesn't, it's such a weird thing to see. Yeah. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, I don't get it. I changed a lot of my predictions. I originally put Tampa, but I was like, no, I actually feel like the Leafs are due. Like, they have the players, they have the people. And I still don't think this is done. I'm just really surprised that the games have been the way they are with so much scoring and that there's no balance. There's never going to be a 3-2 game. Oh, no. Whoever wins that game is going to win 7-2. And that's just weird to me.
Yeah, it is. It's bizarre. It's a weird series. And it also, like, these games kind of make you question the structure of the playoffs, which we talked about.
Yeah.
And, you know, 1 through 8. And, you know, what are they playing for? What are they playing for in the regular season to place? It's bizarre.
Unless you win it, it doesn't matter. But the argument would be the same, which is there's competitive parity or competitive, equality. And because of that, it doesn't matter if you play the 8th seed, the 7th seed, the 6th seed, the 5th seed, the 4th seed. You're going to have a tough match every way. That's why the first round is actually always so good, though, too. And later rounds get crappier and crappier. It's just how it is. Yeah. Any last thoughts here before we end the pod here, Adam?
No, it's been a good start to the playoffs, and I'm really looking forward to round 2 and our prediction panel when that happens.
So like, click, subscribe. You might have another episode this week. I really don't know what Ryan and Sanjay are up to. I think Sanjay's going to the game in Calgary, so he won't be available tomorrow for sure. Is that tonight? No, it's not tonight. I guess it's
Oh, he said
Thursday.
Thursday, right?
Thursday. Yeah, he's going Thursday. So I'm not sure what they're up to, but that's that. If you're listening, you're watching, thanks for listening. I hope your team wins unless you're a Kings fan. And other than that, yeah, thanks for tuning in. With that, I'm Baron.
I'm Adam.
And this is Delayed Offside. Thank you for listening. Like, click, and subscribe.